Hello, everyone, and welcome to Travel Massive Live. My name is Maria Stoyanova, and I'm joining you today from Sofia, Bulgaria. Today's live webinar is Women in Travel, featuring 3 female founders who are going to share their journeys and the projects they are working on. Thank you for everyone who is joining us live on Zoom right now. Feel free to use the chat box to introduce yourself, tell us where are you joining us from, and what do you do? A few words I want to say before we start with the actual presentations and I give the word to our speakers. Even though these are challenging times for the tourism industry, we do feel that it is important to shine a light on leaders in the industry that we can look to for hope, for inspiration, and then also we can basically see some good examples of what's going on around us right now. And for that reason, we do have some very exciting news on Travel Massive. Let me just share my screen real quick so I can show you what I am talking about. Yes, I hope guys you can see my screen right now. All right, so on Travel Massive yesterday, we released the list of 100 inspiring women travel founders. So if you go to our website, we will post a link on the chat box so you can also click and see this list. We have 100 females that you can follow, you can connect with them. You can also see what they're doing, what are their projects. You can get some more inspiration. We're very, very excited about this one, and we wanted to share that with you. So we will post a link if we haven't already in the chat box, and then you can take a look at that. All right, let me introduce our speakers today. We have Rita Varga, co-founder of Women in Hospitality and Travel Tech. We have Kelly Lewis, founder of Go Girl Guides and the Women's Travel Fest. And we also have Taru Aalto, co-founder and CEO of Wowanders. Each of our speakers will have 6 to 8 minutes to present their projects, their challenges, and tips to other females in the industry. Meanwhile, whoever is watching us live on Zoom right now, use the chat box to put your questions, and then we'll get to them at the end of this webinar. All right, let me give the word to Rita right now. Hi, Rita, are you ready?
Mute off, which means I'm on. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you very well.
Okay, great. And I'm just going to share my screen. Yeah, I hope you can see my screen. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Travel Massive. And it's a pleasure introducing WHTT, Women in Hospitality and Travel Tech, to you. I think Lisa from Travel Massive really witnessed the project from the beginning. And that was when after 15 years working in the hospitality industry, I worked first at hotels, language travel. I worked at the Spanish Airlines, and the past 8 years I've spent with travel technology, where I've really found my calling. But wherever I went or wherever I changed to, I came across all the same challenges over and over again, and I felt basically held back by this industry that I love so much and I'm so passionate about. I really did my reflection when 2 years ago, you can hear her in the background already, my 2-year-old daughter was born, and I just wanted to make sure that she doesn't have to fight the same fights that I have to or had to. And I wanted to reach out to other women to talk about their experiences, but I had none in my surroundings, basically. So that's when I created a genuine LinkedIn group, and this is how WHTT, Women in Hospitality and Travel Tech, was born. I was very also transparent, and I'm still very transparent about the stories or the happenings that came to me, my experience, and I think through that other people automatically felt that they could share their own stories as well, first privately and opening up more and more and more. Yeah, and the community was born. So we are only 8 months old, but we already have 2,500 members plus, all genders. So we are very inclusive, and mainly from Europe, but we have communities in Argentina, in Brazil, in the US, in Singapore, in South Africa. Um, but you know, time permits only a couple of things, so we now have 4 chapters opened. And I'm going to switch here. So we have Barcelona, London, Berlin, and Prague chapters open. And our goal is to get this up to 11 by 2021. And of course, as we have been growing, our team has been growing organically as well, which means we have now 8 people that support us on a committed basis and on a daily basis apart from their day jobs. Here are all these amazing ladies. Some of us are in the background who are really helping our missing, and I hope to be able to complete it with further members very, very soon. And of course, because you're watching this, if you are you know, interested in getting involved and on a more serious level, just ping me. You have my contact details, I guess, through my Travel Massive profile. But let's get now to serious stuff. You know, we have been growing, and you know, as our community has been growing, we were able to identify the main barriers that women actually face when it comes to getting into leadership positions, and or let's call it positions with decision-making power. And so these are, we call the first one on the books, which means, you know, women are not even considered for promotion. Some organizations tend to hire externally rather than you know, consider female experienced employees for promotion, which is crazy. And then the second one, we call it balancing, which means, you know, from the hospitality industry, the lack of flexibility at work. Although I must say, due to the current situation, this is one of the fields that is changing the most. The next one, we call it the Oprah, and this is not only for hospitality. We know that across all the industries, we are lacking female role models, basically, and Oprah is kind of standing there for all of us. The next one, we call it the Black Widow, which comes from, you know, the very, very weird questions Scarlett Johansson actually received when she was promoting Black Widow, um, which basically means women do less networking and less self-promotion. And just combining all that I have mentioned before, the last one, we call it the Simon Sinek, whom I love, which is actually due to all the above mentioned factors, women just stop thinking about their personal growth, and through that in the growth of their organization. So that includes all of the organization, all of us. Um, and this is all about inclusivity. And let me show you just through a couple of numbers why these challenges are not only considered for women. It's for all of us. As Beth mentioned last week from Wonderful, she mentioned that 80% of the travel decisions are made by women, and 2 out of 3 travelers identify as female. Let's see the supplier side. So on the other hand, 70% of the workforce in the hospitality industry, they are women. Yet, and this is for me the most shocking, 26% of the decision makers only are female. What does that mean for us? That means that, you know, organizations are losing significant consumer insight and don't include women into their decision-making process, and that ultimately leads to business performance loss. That impacts our numbers. And if we don't think about, you know, the diversity and having different people in our companies, the numbers should speak for us. And I promise it does speak in each and every organization. So this is where we come into the picture. We try to solve all these challenges on 3 different verticals. The first one is education. Here you can see some sessions we have done. Of course, we are doing offline events. One of our values is really to give real value with every single event that we do. So we do workshops, we do you know, coaching events, we do master classes, which we started now online. We do a LinkedIn Live sessions. We've been just granted LinkedIn Live beta, so we will try to make sure to give as much material for the members and for the public as possible. So that's education. The second part, which is, I think, also has come up in every single event that I've been to and every single network I've been a part of, mentorship. We are just about to start our mentorship program. Some of the sessions are running already. This is one of the sessions, what you can see on the presentation, that we ran through LinkedIn. As you can see, we have both female and male mentors, yeah, so feel free to go to our website and sign up for our mentorship session, either as a mentor or as a mentee. Apart from the mentorship program, what we really are engaged with is personal growth development. So we are organizing sessions, for example, of the I Am Remarkable Google course that gives you the, you know, it's for self-confidence and self-promotion at the workplace. Yeah, as I mentioned, the Google certified course. And then the third vertical is career development. So we freshly launched our career portal, WHTT Career Connector, where we match organizations that already have a diversity and inclusion strategy in place, or are simply on the lookout for women to get them for their organizations and promote them within their organizations. Very, very important. Here are a couple of examples of companies that work with us. And what we do as well is externally, but coaching different companies or organizations within the industry on diversity and inclusion goals. Yeah, we will have a job speed dating event, remote, coming up by the end of April, which I'm very, very excited about. And if you're asking about the next step, for us, what we see is as well supporting more female founders, to give them access to funding, to connect them to VCs, but we are even seeing a sort of incubator program for women in the future, but slowly but surely. And here are some of our partners that we love all across the hospitality industry. And yeah, I'm wrapping up. Hope I was on time right now. I'm not as on tech as I tried to be last time, but here you feel free to, you know, go to our website, Instagram, YouTube channel, LinkedIn group, LinkedIn page, Facebook page, Twitter, and feel free to send us an email. Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you to all.
Thank you, Rita. You sound very passionate about what you're doing, so that is very inspiring to see. Thank you for sharing this with us. I know that maybe you have to go, so I just want to ask you if you have a quick link of that speed networking event that is about to happen. You can put it in the chat box, or after that we can include it in the email to all attendees.
I will include it because I don't know how technology is working out right now. Yeah, I'm very passionate. Thank you very much. I am also passionate about my 2-year-old. That's that's why I have to go. But I will share all the possible links, and if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out, whatever the channel is.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rita.
Thank
Have
you.
a very good day. We'll send your details to all the attendees so they can reach out to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Okay, now, guys, we have Kelly Lewis, who is the founder of Go Girl Guides and Women's Travel Fest. Go Girl Guides publishes the world's first series of travel guidebooks for women. And the Women's Travel Fest is an annual consumer travel event that aims to inspire, empower, and connect women in travel. Kelly, whenever you're ready, feel free to start and tell us more about your journey.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Super honored to be here. Thank you so much to Travel Massive. Thank you also to the intranet for waking me up on this Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Portland, Oregon time. I am excited to talk to you today, and really what I wanted to talk about is the path that has led me here today and kind of my own journey in business. I'm probably a bit different from my co-presenters in that I really don't consider myself to be in the tech space, nor the startup space. Everything that I have done started primarily because I was a traveler. And when I started in business, I financed my business the way that I'd financed my travels, which is through bartending. So until my businesses were big enough, I worked behind a bar and made it happen. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the journey that got me here. Let me just share my screen. Okay, I'm hoping you can all see this now. Awesome. So hello, I am Kelly Lewis. I'm the founder of several women's travel-based businesses. I am incredibly passionate about helping women to travel the world and also helping them to achieve dreams that they may have, especially if those dreams include traveling the world. So this is me when I had red hair. I went blonde post 30. These are my businesses. I've owned Go Girl Guides, which publish travel guidebooks for women. Then I started Women's Travel Fest, which is the world's largest consumer conference for women. And then Damesley was quick to follow. And I'll tell you a little bit about all those businesses after this. Here are some places I've been honored to have been featured. I am super passionate about the work that I do. And anytime I have opportunities to talk and connect with other women, I love to do that. So this all started from a dream. And I don't mean like ambition. I mean like a literal actual dream in the middle of the night. So at the time I was a journalist. I was working for a trade publication called Gourmet News. And I had a dream in the middle of the night that I was looking at a guidebook for women. And in my dream I was going, oh, you should have started this. This was totally your calling. And I woke up, went to work the next day, sitting in my cubicle, and midday, the idea came to me. I started Googling. This was 2010, and no one had published travel guidebooks for women. And so I was like, this has to be something that I do. And I think at the time, I'd also started sort of picking up on differences in the way that I travel versus my male friends or versus what my guidebooks were telling me. And so subconsciously, it all kind of came together for me in that moment. I decided then and there that I was going to quit my job. I hated it anyway. I did. I quit my job. 3 months later, I was in Thailand writing our very first guidebook. I have zero experience writing guidebooks. So let this be, like, I'm hoping that this inspires you to do things that maybe you don't think you're capable of. I went out to write this guidebook answering one single question, and that was, what are the things that my girlfriends are telling me that my guidebooks are not? So I was finding all over the world that my girlfriends would say things like, hey, this bus station's kind of sketchy at night, or like, hey, you should be aware of this road at this time. And I couldn't find that information in my guidebooks. So I wanted to create an informational resource that was really another tool that women could use to explore the world with. So in 2010, that book came out. It was quickly followed by our next book, which was on Mexico, and our next book, which was on Argentina. And then I decided to move from Tucson, Arizona to New York City. And in order to do that, I went on a big cross-country road trip. And I was talking to women about traveling and about, you know, the business, but also like why I started it, why it's important, why we need to know, you know, that tampons are difficult to find in South Korea, and how women travel differently than men do. And these conversations that I was having really lit me up. I was so surprised that so many women wanted to talk about traveling, and they wanted to take me out to dinner and pick my brain for hours, and they were introducing me to their grandchildren. And like, I just really thought, you know, this is something. These conversations really fuel me. And then I thought, well, what if there's more? Like, what if I could expand on this? And what would that look like? So I got to New York, I thought about it. And then in 2014, the Women's Travel Fest became the world's first conference for women who travel, quickly followed by our friends at WITS. But we started in this beautiful venue in New York City, which ordinarily I could not have afforded. And that happened because I reached out to the founder of the space and I said, hey, I've got this idea. I want to bring together women. She loved the idea. And so she really worked with me. So I think sometimes it can feel impossible to do big things, right? And it really is just a matter of people, talking to people and asking people what you need, telling them what you need. So now the Women's Travel Fest, we were so fortunate to host our show March 6th through the 8th of this year, so just a month ago. And at the time, I mean, we didn't realize how close under the wire we were coming, and it felt really like resilient in the room. Like we were really excited to be able to get together and talk about traveling. Of course, 4 days later, the world changed, borders closed. The travel industry is in a very different space, but it is just an incredible, it's incredible to be able to sit in a room with 400 women and talk about your greatest passion. And so I'm very proud of this show and how it's grown over 7 years. But then I kept thinking, what if there's more? What more can I do? How else can I support my community? We've got, 400 or 500 women coming to Women's Travel Fest every single year. What can we do for them in the months that we're not doing the show? And so then I started Damesley. So Damesley is a women's tour company, and it started in 2016 with a mission to connect creative and professional women and take them traveling. We do this by creating a combination of creative workshops abroad and also traveling. So for example, we have a tour where we have a photography workshop led by a female photographer, which then follows up with 2 days of shooting through the Grand Canyon, Antelope Canyon, and Horseshoe Bend. So you're working with her hands-on and also seeing the world. This is the kind of the model that I created because I wanted to do something different. And I had noticed at the time, the travel space was very divided between, big bus tours and college age tours. And so there were women in their 30s like me who were kind of left out of that mix, didn't fit in any box. So I created Damesley, and that company is awesome. So much fun to be able to connect with women from around the world and to travel with them. But of course, things are changing, right? So we've had to cancel a lot of tours for the summer. A lot of things are on hold. We have tour guides that can't work, and it sucks. So I kept thinking, what if there's more? What can I do? What can I do now to support my community and to also not go crazy myself? So a while ago, I had this idea to create a book. And so now that's what I'm focusing my passions, my time on. So it's called Tell Her She Can't. And it features stories from my own life, as well as interviews and stories of women who have overcome adversity to achieve success. A lot of these women are women in my community. I don't have a very different story from a lot of female founders. I grew up in an environment that didn't always support me. I wasn't told that I can go out and do things. I had to go out and figure that out. In fact, I had a lot of people telling me that I couldn't do things. And, that, as I started talking to other female founders, is not uncommon. So I wanted to create a book that's like, yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. We should do it anyway. So that's what my latest project is in the interim until the travel industry comes back. And I am very hopeful that it will indeed come back. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now, and I'm super excited about the projects that I'm working on, and I miss my community desperately and very dearly. So I'm here to help you if you have an idea that you need some guidance on, or if you want to just chat with me. My email is below, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Kelly. If anyone has any questions for Kelly and her projects, feel free to use the chat box to ask them, and then we'll get back to them at the end of the webinar. If you're joining us live on Zoom, you're watching Women in Travel live webinar on Travel Massive. Now, let me introduce you our third speaker for today. We have Taru, Aalto, co-founder and CEO of Wowanders. Wowanders changes the way hotels, restaurants, and sites are discovered with the help of AI and enabling friend-to-friend recommendations. Taru, whenever you're ready, feel free to take the stage.
Thanks, Maria. Really, really excited to kind of be part of the webinar today and tell you more about kind of our journey and my journey, and hopefully kind of also inspiring other women to become female founders and kind of really trust that they can do it the same way as anyone else can do it. So let me just quickly share my screen. Okay. Cool. Okay. Now you can hopefully, yes. Can you see the screen? Yes, excellent. So, like I said, I'm one of the two female founders of Wowanders, a smart travel diary and a platform for discovering hotels, restaurants, and sites based on recommendations from your friends. So, just to share you a little bit about kind of who I am before I go into kind of sharing our story and how things started happening. So first of all, I have an engineering background, but most of my career has been about international sales, working in mostly tech companies and also a little bit in fashion. But at the moment, I'm a co-founder of a startup called Wowanders together with my pretty amazing co-founder Maya, whom I've known for the last 20 years since we studied together at the university, and you can see us in the pictures. And on the private side, I'm an extremely passionate traveler. I love all kinds of travel. I especially love going to beach, amazing restaurants, skiing, hiking, and so forth. So I'm kind of really combining my passion with my profession at the moment, which is really exciting. The way I became actually a startup founder is that I had actually been working in different companies outside travel for 20 years. And then I noticed I'm kind of losing my passion, that I need to figure out like something that really challenges me and where I feel again that I'm learning. And then the idea of starting a new company came to me. And then I was like, okay, I want to have my own company, but where do I get an idea? So as an engineer, I kind of approached the problem very practically. I was inviting all my friends over. We were drawing ideas on the kitchen walls and really kind of trying to figure out what the idea is. And then I realized that actually there's so many ideas. There's so many things you can improve. There are so many opportunities that might actually not be the toughest thing to do. But what I realized very quickly was that I'm an extrovert, that I need people around me, that I don't want to do things alone. And then I was like, okay, so where I'm going to find someone to join me on this journey. And then by accident, I bumped into Maya, and we were both kind of going through the same thing. And then we kind of figured out a joint idea. Okay, so now I have this amazing person. And then I start thinking, okay, so we are aiming to build something really, really big. So am I really going to commit to Maya for the next 5 or more years? Because if this actually works, it means that it's going to be every single day. This is the person I need to go through the rough times, the celebrations and everything with me kind of going forward. And kind of, I think the things that made the difference for me in Maya was that, first of all, I think she compliments me a lot, kind of being very analytical and kind of very calm, whereas I can get a little crazy at times. And at the same time, whenever we are going through a hurdle, she actually stays calm and we can actually kind of discuss everything. And then after that, it was just like being so excited that you can hardly think that you're just kind of running and kind of, yeah, it was all about the excitement. The question I get asked the most probably is, wasn't I afraid to jump into the unknown and kind of becoming an entrepreneur, because I had never done this before. And there were a couple of things that I think helped me. First of all, I realized that we decided with Maya that we would celebrate every single milestone along the way. So it wasn't just about the goal of building a big company and building a solution that consumers and travelers would love. We realized that whenever we get our first customer, we would celebrate that, because that was already achievement. There was one person at least who would love what we're doing. When we got our first financing, when we kind of announced the first version of the product. So there has been so many milestones along the way, and already those I think are worth kind of celebrating. And I think that's really important to remember, that everything you do is you're already learning and you're achieving something. Then secondly, whenever you start a company, financial kind of insecurities can hit you. So you really need to be prepared that sometimes kind of it's going to be really tough. You can be part-ending, you can do all kinds of things, but you kind of need to be prepared and willing to go through everything. And of course, what helped a lot was that you kind of get, when you fall in love with the problem you're solving and the goal that you have, you kind of forget everything. You kind of you're living in your own bubble and you're just like so convinced, and you kind of have to find that thing that you're so passionate about and that you really believe in yourself that you can actually solve the problem. So that was the thing for me. But of course, at the same time, all the time we have been going against the odds. So we are kind of a company that, in order to grow, needs to be financed by the large venture capital firms. And at the moment, we're 2 female founders. And last year, only 0.4% of all the money in Europe going to tech startups went to companies with only female founders. So we're the really, really odd ones kind of meeting investors. And obviously, so we're kind of knowing that it's not the normal way. But so that was kind of the story. And if we think about then what we're actually now doing, the problem that we are passionate about with Maya and the rest of the team, is that we early on noticed that many travelers are frustrated with planning. And when you go online looking for a hotel or restaurant or site, you're finding so many options. You're not quite sure if you can trust everything you'll find online, and you're not quite sure if that's really for me or for someone else. And what we then realized is that kind of this problem is really actually primarily the biggest for women. And I think this kind of topic has been coming around to in many of the talks in this webinar and the previous ones, that especially in leisure travel, 80% of the decisions are actually done by women. So this is the problem for women especially. And when we've been asking especially women, how would you like to decide and discover places, most of them say from a recommendation that you trust from a friend. And I like that Kelly was saying that kind of she started thinking kind of what would she ask from her girlfriends. So this is a little bit the kind of the same problematic. And then we started thinking, okay, how can we make it easy for you to discover places based on recommendation from your friends? And we realized that in order to recommend, you need to remember. So that's how the idea for Wowanders came to life. So basically what it does, it is your travel diary that keeps track of the places that you visit while you travel, the hotels, restaurants, and sites, so that you never forget any of the places you visit. And on the other hand, lets you discover the places where your friends have visited in the app as well. So that's kind of the simple thing that we're doing, and we've been live now for a little over a year and kind of getting more and more users on board. So, and at the moment, even if you're not traveling, you can definitely go and easily build diaries of your past trips. So I encourage you all to try. And if you have any feedback, we always love to hear that. So then as a maybe conclusion for my presentation is kind of my tips for anyone who is thinking of becoming a female founder in the tech area. So first of all, I recommend you get a co-founder, because in the tough times, you really need someone to kind of go through, kind of share that pain with you. At least for me, I could never imagine doing this alone. Also, kind of, you need to focus 200%. You need to believe in it. You need to be willing to give up on things to kind of make things happen. Also, ask for help. Get a mentor. People love to help others, and they actually kind of feel good about helping you. So just ask, and you get advice, and it will help you. Be aware of where your strengths and weaknesses are, and kind of find others who can complement you. If you're building a tech startup, remember that the problem is that you need to fall in love with, not the kind of solution in a way. So you need to be kind of open all the time to adjust what you're building, while kind of still kind of believing in the problem. And don't hide your idea. Kind of tell it to anyone who cares to listen, and maybe even a few more. And then most importantly, what I think many of us have a challenge with is believing in yourself. Because when you have a big vision, you can start easily questioning yourself that, am I kind of crazy thinking I can do this? But yes, kind of you can do it. Kind of you can really, really do it. Just believe in yourself. And the worst thing that can happen is that you've learned a lot, that you've made a lot of friends, like we have with Maya during our journey, and that's already a kind of a great thing. So that pretty much wraps it up for me. So kind of feel free to contact me over email, in any social media, and happy to kind of discuss.
Thank you very much, Taru. It is very obvious that you learned a lot of lessons during your journey. So thank you for sharing all of these tips with us. We already have a few questions for Kelly, but if anyone who is watching us live on Zoom right now, feel free to use the chat box or the Q&A tool on Zoom to ask questions for Taru or Kelly. Now we are gonna get to the first question for you. So Laura is asking, hey Kelly, if someone wants to pitch to you a workshop or idea, what is the best way?
Shoot me an email. Yeah, either kelly@gogirlguides.com, kelly@damesley.com. I am incredibly reachable. So
do you have any
I'm also around.
Do you have any tips how people can form their pitch in a way that's to be more appealing to you, or anything you can share on that?
Certainly. I mean, I think our workshops for Damesley specifically, we're looking for creative skills or creative lessons in a way of combining that with travel. So you have to think, like, what's the community going to take away from this? And is it unique? You know, we don't do like yoga retreats. That's not our jam. Take a look at what we offer. And if you think that you have a unique idea for something that we could utilize, it's not always about the destination, right? It's about the workshop and how that fits into the destination. So, you know, we can craft. The beauty of being a founder of something is you can craft whatever you want and see if it works, right? So like we have a workshop, a creative writing workshop called Writing and Writing, which is a creative writing session combined with horseback riding in the Rocky Mountains. So if you have an idea for the session, we can figure out a complementary destination for that.
Amazing. We have a question from Sandra, also for Kelly. Sandra is also the owner of boutique tour company inside Europe. Hi, Sandra. She was actually part of one of our previous online shows. Sandra is asking, do you have to deal with, so this is for a question for the current situation. Obviously, this is challenging times for the tourism industry right now. So we can discuss just a little bit about what's going on in your businesses again as well. Sandra is asking, do you have to deal with chargeback claims at Damesley? Are your travelers getting refunds for upcoming journeys?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I live my life as an open book, so I'll be totally transparent with y'all. I've done a lot of refunds for tours that we've had to cancel, of course. I've done refunds for upcoming trips. I understand, you know, I get that it's a weird time to want to get on a plane. And we're all people, right? I think that's like, someone asked me for half of their deposit back. I'm going to give that to them if that means they're going to make their rent. So for now, you know, our online traffic is down 75%. Refunds are crazy, but we're still okay. And I'm hopeful and thankful. I mean, I count my blessings every day that I have a place to live and money to pay my rent, but we're hopeful that things will come back. And I don't know about you guys, but like, I am ready to get out. I am tired of being cooped up. So I do believe that the travel industry will come back. And the thing that really sucks is all of the vendors that are displaced and the tour guides that we can't put to work in, you know, but there's nothing that any of us can do about it. So I just try to do right by my customers and by my community.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Haley Woods. Hi, Haley. Is asking, what content are you producing during this time or doing to stay motivated and relevant with your communities during these challenging times?
I mean, it's hard. I think I've been having some discussions with other tour leaders, and we all feel a bit paralyzed, I think, in not knowing what to say, because it's not the time to promote travel, but we also know that we are inherently travelers, and so we still have that desire and we want to feed that. And so I think, you know, it's about striking the balance. For me, it's been a journey of going inward and saying, what's working in my business? What's not working in my business? What do I have time for that I can work on right now? Like this book, right? Which is really like keeping me from some personal dark days, because I'm talking to women who are doing inspiring things all of the time. So I think it's a matter of taking care of yourself, going inward on creative projects you've maybe put aside, and also considering your community. And that's what I would say is like, how can I help you? And everyone, I think right now is like, we don't know. So webinars like this are great. And I just try to keep thinking of that.
Thank you. I think, Taru, I can ask you the same question. Basically, what are you doing right now to stay motivated and to, you know, keep the work going, basically?
I kind of have the blessing and curse of being the overly optimist person, kind of like always seeing the kind of silver lining on everything. And basically from a business side, kind of the situation is impacting us quite kind of heavily, of course, both kind of difficult to get new investors, and at the same time also kind of getting any revenues is pretty much impossible at the moment. However, there are many things kind of travelers can do with our app, and especially what you can do is, and this is what we're motivating our current and future users to do, is to kind of relive your past travels by building a travel diary. I just recently myself created a travel diary of my trip to Portugal, and it was so much fun just going through the pictures and building the diary. So there are so many other things you can do related to travel. So that's what we are doing, I think, at the moment. And of course also kind of just be inspired by travels that other people have been doing is, I think, mostly. And yeah, but yeah, so kind of at the same time, I think also in Finland, what we try to do is encourage discussion on, rather than just focus on the challenges that we have, also the opportunities that may arise, and how can we help people feel safe to travel again, and how can we as a kind of a community to support people kind of restarting to travel safely and as quickly as possible.
To continue on that, Alessandra is asking, is saying, Taru, I love what you said about celebrating every step. What can you do now to keep celebrating?
Good question. We actually just kind of, my latest celebration, kind of our latest celebration was to kind of actually, we did get a little bit funding from the Finnish government to kind of fight the corona crisis at the moment. So extremely grateful about that at the moment, and also kind of so kind of celebrating that little bit of success. And actually at the moment we're still kind of also still getting new users. So every single time that I'm looking at the statistics, so it's kind of it's easy to kind of feel kind of grateful and happy and so forth. But of course, yeah. So maybe those are the things. And if you look at today, so it's just kind of in these times you also kind of just can find gratitude in having people, amazing business partners like I have Maya as a partner. So kind of just kind of being happy that you can go through the rough patch with someone you trust.
Thank you. Very inspiring words. We do have a lot of questions coming in, guys, so I'm gonna combine some of them. We have a question for Taru maybe about funding. So basically, what would be your advice for other female founders to secure funding in this environment?
Well, that's a good question. I see Kelly scratching her head as well, so kind of yeah. Well, in our case, kind of the good thing is that we have already investors on board who trust us. So some of them kind of have indicated that they kind of might be possible to support us also kind of during this rough time. So I think that's kind of a thing that when you're building future, kind of build relationship with your investors, build trust, and so that they are also there with you when the rough patches hit you. But to be honest, this is not the easiest time to get funding. What I've heard is that many kind of investors, both kind of angel investors and bigger investors, are kind of reevaluating, and especially travel is not maybe the easiest sector now, but it doesn't mean, what I kind of just told someone is that whenever kind of this crisis starts to be over, new opportunities will arise, like major opportunities. And now if you prepare for that, if you really think about and you're there to grab the opportunity, there can be even bigger opportunities that would have been there otherwise. So kind of, I still kind of see the positives as well.
Thank you. We have time for 2 more questions, so I will ask our speaker to be very precise in their answers. So one very interesting question that came in the Q&A tool here is, what is the biggest way in which hotels and hostels are failing to meet the needs of women travelers? Whoever wants to have any ideas and wants to share.
I'm not sure that they are failing to meet the needs. I think everyone's set of needs is very different, right? And I do think that the travel industry has come a long way in terms of addressing the concerns of women. Certainly, it has come light years from a decade ago when it didn't exist. So I think, there are things that travelers can do to remain as safe as possible. But I do think that everyone's needs are different, and I'm not totally certain that I would say that hotels and hostels are failing. They're female travelers.
Thank you, Kelly. We have 2 questions that are kind of the same, so I'm gonna form this into one. What can people do now to keep their consumers and clients and communities engaged? Like, what kind of content would you suggest for them to basically share with the community right now?
I think first and foremost, authenticity is super key. Like, we are all in this together and nobody has a right answer. For me, I've taken it as an opportunity to sort of step back. And I know that that is difficult for a lot of entrepreneurs or people who lead communities. But I am stepping back slightly because there's so much noise right now coming from everywhere. And so it's really common, and I think it's pretty typical for us as entrepreneurs to want to like be out front and leading the charge and doing all the things and doing all the lives. And you really have to consider like what your community is feeling and whether or not that's the right answer for you, because everybody's doing lives, right? And so it's a lot coming at you. So that's kind of what's been going through my head lately, is like, how can I protect my community and also trust that they're going to be there when this passes? They're not going to go anywhere. Everyone's kind of, life is on pause. So take the opportunity to do what you need to do as a founder.
That's a really good comment, Kelly. And at least what I'm kind of all the time struggling is that I think everyone is the personal journey that everyone goes through when they are kind of figuring out the crisis that we're going through is very different. For some, they kind of in a way recover very quickly. For some, it's much more devastating on a personal level. Some is less devastating, depending on if someone who you love is sick or if you lost your job and all of this. So I think we kind of need to respect that everyone has their own kind of path and timeline that they go through things. But at the same time, personally, what I really kind of crave for is the things that I normally got from travel, which is dreaming and just relaxation and all of that. So if anyone comes up with ways to kind of deliver those instead of the sad news, I'd love to kind of enjoy that kind of content and experiences myself.
Thank you. I just want to mention this for the recording. Alessandra shared in the chat box a suggestion for everyone to, if you're interested, you can check out Maiden Voyage on the topic of hotel safety for females. Thank you, Alessandra. And some last questions. Thank you very much for joining us again. If you're watching us on Zoom, you're watching Women in Travel live webinar. We're going to wrap up this very soon. Right now, everyone is staying at home. Everyone is dreaming about their future trips. Is there any book or movie or anything, article maybe, that you would recommend for people to definitely check out in this time? Just if something comes to your mind.
I mean, if you want a project, read Shantaram. That's like 600 pages, and it's all about life in India, developing a business. So that's always a good time consumer. I'm doing a lot of journaling too. I think it's really important that we stay creative during this time. And I'm thinking about where I want to go when the world reopens. There's just a lot of factors, as you know, like when borders will happen, when planes will return. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah, for me, it's I travel through food. I love food and I love cooking. So I just love going through internet and finding authentic recipes around the world and just like feeling for a moment that I'm in Morocco or in Thailand or something. So that's for me what I do to travel from at home.
Thank you. Last question. Where are you going when all of this is over and we can travel again? Where is the first place that you'll go?
So I've never been to Central America outside of Mexico. So I want to do a big Central America tour. So Costa Rica, Guatemala, Nicaragua, I'm coming for ya.
I actually have no idea. So because I love all kinds of travel, so I haven't fixated on any place. So the sooner it comes, the better. And yeah, I don't know yet.
Thank you very much, ladies. We at Travel Massive are going to support you. So let us know whenever you have any small or big celebration with your businesses. Congratulations for being listed also on the female founders list on Travel Massive. Thanks everyone who was watching us live. This was Women in Travel live webinar. We had Rita Varga from Women in Hospitality and Travel Tech, Kelly Lewis, founder of Go Girl Guides and the Women's Travel Fest, and Taru, Aalto, co-founder and CEO of Wowanders. If you want to join other live events on Travel Massive, feel free to look at the Travel Massive live page. We are going to be back tomorrow with a discussion on the current situation in the hospitality and the accommodation sector, with keeping in mind the COVID-19 situation. Thank you all for joining again and see you next time.
Thank you.